Hi everybody, this is lesson 2 of your non-chronological report writing week. I hope you got on really well with your first lesson. Today is very much about creating a plan. Whenever we write, we need a plan to make sure we get all the features that we've already identified, so those structural and those language features. Okay. Before we start that though, I'm going to challenge you for 2 minutes. I want you to write down anything you've learned about the Alps. Okay, so from previous lessons in geography, I want you to have a little think about maybe where they are, what's special about them, who likes to visit them, things like that. Okay, so pause the video now and see if you can write anything about the Alps. Off you go. Okay, how did you get on? Hopefully you've got lots of interesting information noted down there. So as you can see, this week it is all about writing a non-chronological report about the Alps. But when we write, we've got to consider 2 things. We've got to consider why we're writing, that's the purpose, and secondly, who's the reader, who's the audience. So the purpose of this piece of writing is to give information about the Alps, thinking about the location, the landscape, so the geography, what the actual land of the Alps looks like, and what it's like to visit there as well. And then our audience, so who's going to be reading our reports? So the age range that we're looking at is children of your age, okay? And I want you to think back to the beginning of this topic when you might not have known anything about the Alps. So what would you like to have known about? So that's the type of person you're writing for, okay? So children of a similar age to yourself, but somebody who's never studied the Alps before. Okay, so what's really important at this point is that you actually give yourself a chance to recap some of the knowledge you've already learned. Remember, in a report, we're giving information, we're detailing, we're describing, okay? So we need to have that information before we start writing. If you haven't managed to do all the geography lessons in this unit, in this half term, or you just want a bit of a recap, don't worry, because I've created a set of slides on PowerPoint and I've basically pulled out the important bits of all the previous lessons, okay? So attached to this lesson 1 file is a PowerPoint, so it's really important that you read through those slides, click on the links where there's a video, because there's some really interesting videos for you to watch there as well, and you might want to write some notes, or if you are able to print the PowerPoint off, you might want to underline or highlight what you think are the important bits, okay? So please do take your time to go through that information, because that's what we're going to need to put into our report. Okay, stop the video now and have a look at those if you'd like to. Okay, so once you've got that knowledge, we are now going to create a plan. Now, when we're in school, we always plan our writing, regardless of what type it is, whether it be a story or a report, okay? And the reason for that is we want to make sure that the reader is guided through what they are reading, okay? So the paragraphs that we're going to write in are there to help the reader follow the information through. They might just want to know about what the weather's like in the Alps, so they could then go to the paragraph which is all about the climate, the weather, okay? So what we need to do is we need to organise our information into the same idea or theme, and that will create our paragraphs. So as you can see here at the top, we've got a space for our main heading. So that's the first thing you need to think about. What's the overall title of our piece of writing? Do think back to lesson 1 in that example. Okay, you can always go back and have a little look at the example. That's a bit like what we call a waggle, or what a good one looks like. Okay, so that's good to refer to. Then we're going to need to have an introduction. Then there's going to be at least three paragraphs, all with their own subheading. Okay, so again, that tells the reader what that paragraph's going to be about. And then lastly, you might have a did you know box or a fact box. And that's an opportunity for you to add in any extra details that you might not have been able to put into your paragraphs, or that you think is the most interesting bit. So you can do that later on as well. Okay, so here is exactly the same plan. I've just zoomed in on it a little bit. And you'll be able to see here that I've already added my main heading, which is all about the Alps. You can add whatever you want to here, but do make sure it's an overall title. It's not a title for just 1 paragraph. So pop your main heading in now. Okay, so then we're going to think about what needs to go in the introduction. Okay, an introduction is only there to hint at what the rest of the report is about. Some of you in class often get carried away with writing lots of the interesting detail in the introduction. Try not to do that. Try to save that for your paragraphing. Okay, so your introduction is literally just going to hint about what the whole report's about. Because as a plan, you don't actually need to write in full sentences. You can just write words or phrases that will help you when you come to writing your full sentences. So here I might put that actually the Alps is an interesting mountain range. Okay, so it's a mountain range. It's not just one mountain, it's a group of mountains. Okay, and they're really interesting for lots of reasons. Now, I'm not going to tell the reader why, because it's just my introduction. Another really interesting thing is that they run through 8 countries. Okay, now that is one of the most important things about the Alps. Okay, is that they run through more than 1 or 2 countries, which other mountain ranges do. Now, do you notice I'm not going to name those countries? I'm going to save that for my detailed paragraph. Okay, I might say that they're beautiful. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. Okay, to visit. Okay, and again, it's not a full sentence. Okay, and lastly, I might mention that there are many activities to do in the Alps. Okay, keep a check on your spelling here. Do keep rereading your own work and go back and edit it if you need to. Okay, so they are the 4 main points I'm going to make in the introduction. Okay, when I come to write it, I'm going to make them full sentences, but at the moment I'm just planning. Okay, then I'm going to move to my first paragraph. And you can see here I've added a subheading already, is where are the Alps? And it's a question mark because that really engages your reader. Okay, so here again, please don't write in full sentences, just write the main ideas. Okay, so the main thing I need to tell them is that they're in Europe, in the continent of Europe. Okay, I'll also here, now is the good place to mention, okay, all of the countries that they run through. Okay, and there are 8 of them. Remember, you mentioned that in your introduction, so you can add those in. Something else that's quite interesting about them, okay, because we're trying to give our reader detail, is that they are 750 miles long. That's the whole range. So lots of mountains grouped together in a whole range. Okay, and also they're in a crescent shape. So a bit like a moon shape. Okay. So there's a couple of ideas that I'm going to put in that paragraph because it's all to do with where the Alps are and where they're located. There may be more information that you want to add in there, but it's just an example of how to add notes to each paragraph. Okay, the next paragraph, if anyone to put in your next subheading, and again, I would suggest that it's all about the landscape, maybe what the actual place is like to look at. Okay, so probably it's mountainous and so on. And then another paragraph, because remember you've got 3 paragraphs after your introduction, and your third and final paragraph I'm suggesting, doesn't have to be because you can change it to what you want it to be, would be about activities to do in the Alps, okay, the places that people visit and what activities they do. You'll notice from the information that I've given you, it's really a popular place to visit both in winter and summer for lots of different reasons, okay? So you should then spend the rest of your lesson time today filling in the subheadings and the text, the details, the notes for each of your headings, please. Okay, and remember to keep it grouped about the same idea or the same theme. Okay, when you've done that, the last thing you need to have a little look at today is how you're going to make your sentences quite interesting and detailed. Okay. So in year 3 and year 4, we're always trying to get you to expand your sentences. Okay, the best way to do that, or one of the easiest ways to do that, is to remember that you can put 2 ideas within the same sentence. Okay, so you might want to have a go at using some conjunctions. Probably the most obvious one for us to use and the most well-known word is the word because. Okay, Now, if you put the word because in your sentence, you are always going to expand it and add more detail. You're going to give a piece of information and you're going to explain why. And as you can see here, there are different ways of using conjunctions and connectives, okay, because this happens or because that happens, okay. But here, there's lots of really nice alternatives, okay. Again, we've got and, but is there a different way of saying and? What about as well as, okay, or in addition, okay. So you might then start to talk about the fact that lots of people visit in the winter time, but they also visit in the summertime, and you'll go on to explain that. Another nice one is using however there, okay? Some of these are going to be more appropriate for your non-chronological report than others, so it is really important that you check that they fit in the sentence that you want to, okay? So when you have completed your plan today, so you've got notes in every box, you might just want to have a little look at this conjunction sheet and decide which conjunctions could go into each paragraph as you are starting to write it. So again, you might want to then, underneath each of them, write a conjunction that you think will fit in that paragraph, just because it'll give you a little bit of a prompt when you do come to write your report. Oh, don't forget to try and expand my sentences by using the conjunction because, for example, okay? So once your plan is complete, have a little look at this sheet, decide which you are going to try and use and add them to your plan as well. Okay, that is the end of today's lesson, and have a little go at that ready for tomorrow. Bye.